So after MAGA Republicans killed a bipartisan border deal, which had as its lead negotiator a Republican conservative senator from Oklahoma who's known for being very tough on the border, a bill that was also supported by the Border Patrol Union. This was a bill that President Biden would have signed into law. It gave Republicans essentially everything that they've ever asked for. Donald Trump told MAGA Republicans to kill it so that he could whine about the border during his campaign. He wants it as a campaign issue. And like clockwork, the MAGA Republicans start doing just that. And it's just so shameless. This is MAGA Republican Senator Tim Scott stating that he can't vote to support Ukraine aid because the border bill that he helped kill was not passed, and there are all these issues with the border. You killed the bill and are now using that to claim that you can't provide funding to Ukraine because, again, what is this all about? Trying to actually harm our national security, harm our domestic security, harm our country, so Donald Trump can say, look at all of these problems. Here's Tim Scott, MAGA Republican senator. Play the clip.
Finally, I just want to ask whether or not this new bill that's just about foreign policy, whether you're going to vote in favor of it. Foreign money for Israel, for what's happening in Ukraine. What do you think of that standalone foreign policy bill?
David, I voted no already a few minutes ago, and here's the reason why. Unfortunately, what this administration and Chuck Schumer, they are doing is using the crisis in Israel to support other priorities of the party. We should first secure our southern border. Second, provide resources to Israel. Third, take a look at Indo-Pacific. And fourth, make sure that we have accountability woven into any resources that we give to Ukraine. Without doing those four things in succession, it's going to be hard for Republicans to support it.
Yeah.
Next up, I got MAGA Republican Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. Basically, he's on Fox, at least this host on Fox basically says, but everything that you're claiming isn't in this bill. It is, though. And the Border Patrol Union, the border cops say this is what they wanted. And watch MAGA Republican Senator Kennedy play the clip.
Obviously, she's very frustrated. She said that her, in her home state, people they don't care about politics. They want to make at least, and you just said, Senator, that you were looking for some provisions that would improve, right? And when you go through this, and I understand that people on both sides have very big, differences over this, but you don't think there were some provisions in there that were worth moving on?
I can't predict the future. I have to wait for it like everybody else. But I don't see how anybody could look at this bill and confidently predict it would have been an improvement.
Well, the chief of the Border Patrol just said exactly that. Don't you think that he probably knows better than anybody what would have helped his people out a little bit?
And I have great respect for him, but I disagree with him.
Next up, you've got MAGA Republican Senator J.D. Vance, who basically parrots the same line. Notice, they're all saying the same thing. It's like the same talking point. So here's MAGA Republican J.D. Vance saying that he's glad that the border deal failed, but now they need to deal with the border, and that's why he doesn't support funding Ukraine and protecting our national security. I'm sure Vladimir Putin's clapping for him. Here, play this clip.
Instantly. So it was a bad piece of legislation. It's good that it's gone down. The problem that I have, Rob, is that you have already too many Republicans who have transitioned from, okay, well, this first foray into trying to force border security has gone down. Now let's move on to Ukraine. And I think there are those of us who belong to the sanity caucus in the Republican Party need to throw our hands up, say, let's pump the brakes here, and let's continue to work on solving the border problem as opposed to immediately pivoting to putting more resources into Ukraine. You have a Republican Party that I think as the voters are really against continuing to pour unlimited resources into Ukraine, and far too many Republican politicians, I think, are giving up on bringing common sense border security. It's not good for the American people, and it's certainly not what our voters want.
And also, here's another clip of MAGA Republican J.D. Vance, Senator Vance, right here. And here he attacks the Republicans in the House of Representatives who ultimately voted not to impeach the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, the publicity stunt led by Marjorie Taylor Greene. And notice what Vance says here. He talks about how they're not team players. Play this clip.
I really don't know what was going on there. And frankly, I think it was bad strategy for those three Republicans to defy the Speaker, deny the House Republicans a victory there. That's just not how you, frankly, it's not how to be a good teammate with a fight that's so important for the American people.
Didn't feel like there was a team. That's what it felt like, yeah. Senator, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And fundamentally, that's what we have here. We have this kind of MAGA Republicans who see themselves as Team Trump. And if you're not doing all of these things for Donald Trump, harming our national security, you ain't a team player. That's the way they see things. Look, you see that they're basically parroting the same talking points. Here's MAGA Republican Senator from Alabama, Tommy Tuberville, right here, parroting the same line, saying, oh, we gotta kill the Ukraine bill because we need to deal with the border, when they just killed the border bill. Play the clip.
That's exactly what this was about, Chris. It was about Ukraine money. It was not about the border. Most people knew that it wasn't going to happen. We wasn't going to get a deal on the border. So now we jumped ahead, jumped into the Ukraine funding, and they're going to find a way to get it done, but hopefully we can block it. We need to protect our borders first before anybody else's borders.
Here is the Speaker of the House, MAGA Mike Johnson, who got the order from Donald Trump. Kill this bill. Do not even allow this bill to be introduced in the House of Representatives. And here MAGA Mike talks about the reason he miscounted the votes and wasn't able to get enough votes for now to impeach Department of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas for Marjorie Taylor Greene is because they had counted on a Democratic member still being at the hospital. How ghoulish. Play the clip.
Impeachment. I mean, what happened yesterday with the vote on Secretary Mayorkas? Why bring that to the floor if you didn't have the votes? And will you hold another vote to impeach him?
Yeah, on impeachment, last night was a setback, but democracy is messy. We live in a time of divided government. We have a razor-thin margin here, and every vote counts. Sometimes when you're counting votes and people show up when they're not expected to be in the building, it changes the equation. But listen, we have a duty and a responsibility to take care of this issue. We have to hold the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security accountable. Mayorkas needs to be held accountable. The Biden administration needs to be held accountable. And we will pass those articles of impeachment. We'll do it on the next round.
And here, MAGA Mike Johnson says that, no, Americans are just seeing this is how it's supposed to go down. This is the way it is. No, it isn't. Play the clip.
Speaker, what would you say to Americans concerned that Congress isn't able to do basic functions?
Well, it's just simply not true. We're governing here. Sometimes it's messy. The framers anticipated that you would have a system where people with very different philosophical viewpoints that come from different parts of the country and different constituencies would have different ideas on how to resolve their problems. But what they also anticipated is that we'd be able to get in a room and arm wrestle over public policy and come to consensus to move the ball forward for the most people. That is what's happening here. You're seeing the messy sausage making, the process of democracy play out. And it's not always clean, it's not always pretty, but the job will be done at the end of the day.
Now I want to compare this to Democratic Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, saying that this is one of the most shameful days in the history of the Senate for MAGA Republicans killing a bipartisan Republican and Democratic deal that was the toughest border deal in the history of the United States to help for Donald Trump to perceive that this was a winning strategy so he can whine about the border. Play this clip.
My office a year ago, and we talked specifically about this, like what more could they do? But right now, we came up with bipartisan legislation that we worked on for months that does a lot of really good things. It's $20 billion for border security. I mean, what this does to the Border Patrol, hiring new agents, asylum officers, building new detention facilities. That's why this legislation is supported by the Border Patrol Union. Why the Wall Street Journal came out in favor of it, because it's good legislation that will help. And the administration said, if this passes, they will use these authorities. Our job is to pass legislation. We failed to do that today, and I think this is a really shameful day for the United States Senate.
By the way, here's Republican Senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford, who was the lead negotiator of this bill, someone who Trump endorsed in 2022 when Trump said Lankford is tough on the border. President Biden, Democrats allowed Lankford to get all the terms he wanted in this bill, yet Donald Trump wants to whine about the border, so he killed the border deal. Play this clip.
Some of them may have policy differences. Some of them have been very clear with me. They have political differences with the bill. They say it's the wrong time to solve the problem, or let the presidential election solve this problem. In fact, I had a popular commentator 4 weeks ago that I talked to that told me flat out, before they knew any of the contents of the bill, nothing was out at that point, that told me flat out, if you try to move a bill that solves the border crisis during this presidential year, I will do whatever I can to destroy you. Because I do not want you to solve this during the presidential election. By the way, they have been faithful to their promise and have done everything they can to destroy me in the past several weeks.
I know from a lot of the emails that you send me that a lot of you watching and listening are entrepreneurs. You run your own business, and you know I run a business too, the MeidasTouch Network. So I know how hard it is to manage your numbers, manage the trends in the market, and budget everything. Your business gets to a certain size and the cracks start to emerge. Things you used to do in a day are now taking a week. You have too many manual processes and you don't have one source of truth. If this is you, you need to know these three numbers: 37,000, 25, and 1. Okay, 37,000. That's the number of businesses which have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down costs. And 1, because your business is one of a kind. So you get a customized solution for all of your key performance indicators, KPIs, in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need to grow all in one place. The power of having all the information in one place to make better decisions and the unprecedented offer NetSuite is providing has been a game changer for us here at MeidasTouch, and I think it will also be a major game changer for you and your business. Right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist designed to give you consistently excellent performance absolutely free at netsuite.com/Meidas. That's netsuite.com/Meidas, netsuite.com/Meidas to get your own KPI checklist. That's netsuite.com/Meidas. Check it out. Here's Democratic Congressmember Jared Moskowitz on our show. Play the clip. I mean that border bill, the bipartisan border deal with the lead negotiator being a Republican Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, who Donald Trump endorsed in 2022 as being tough on the border, basically gives Republicans their wish list of everything that they've been asking for, and when given it, because Donald Trump gave the phone call to MAGA Mike Johnson and said, I want to run my campaign on whining about the border. All of these Republicans are killing the bill.
Right? I love this. It's a crisis. We have to solve it right now. I mean, this is literally what happened. Let me give you the 60 seconds on this. So they say, well, we're not going to help Ukraine anymore because we're not going to secure Ukraine's border if we can't secure our border. Okay, great. We'll work on a deal. So 3 months go by as they're working on this deal. And all of a sudden they come up with the most conservative border bill in a generation. And all of a sudden Republicans were like, oh holy shit. They actually listened to us. They actually did what we said. Well, we can't pass this, because if we pass this, we won't be able to use it as an election issue. I mean, we need more fentanyl and more people crossing the border and supposed terrorists. You know, we need all that. I mean, Donald Trump right now, to be clear, is hoping deep down something bad happens at the border or someone got through on the border that's a bad guy and they commit something so that he can use it in the next election. That is where we are. If you don't accept that is what Donald Trump wants and is trying to accomplish, then you are not paying attention. And so, look, this thing is dead. I think probably almost everything else might be dead this session because, you already see Jim Jordan saying, well, let the American people decide, right? We're back to the let's not fill the Supreme Court seat. Let's let the American people decide mentality. And Congress continues to devolve in slow motion before our eyes.
Here's Senator Sinema. Play the clip.
H.R. 2 doesn't even fund new detention beds, guys. H.R. 2, another example of all talk and no action. So if you want to spend the border crisis for your own political agendas, go right ahead. If you want to continue to use the southern border as a backdrop for your political campaign, that's fine. Good luck to you. But I have a very clear message for anyone using the southern border for staged political events. Don't come to Arizona. Take your political theater to Texas. Do not bring it to my state. Because in Arizona, we're serious. We don't have time for your political games. We are not interested in you posing for the cameras. In Arizona, we are busy.
Here's another clip right here, a good one from great clip, Democratic Senator Mark Kelly saying, if you don't come to Arizona and now use Arizona as your PR stunt and go to the border. You're not welcome in Arizona. Play the clip.
But I'm baffled by how we got here. We took a pair of votes this week. One that included border security and support for our allies, and one that was just support for our allies. It was a lack of support from my Republican colleagues that meant the first vote with border security failed. This, after months of working on a compromise to finally do something about this issue. Every senator faced a choice, an up or down vote. That's why we are here, to make tough choices in service of our country and to make easy choices when they're right in front of us. Supporting our allies is an easy choice. Securing our border is an easy choice. I understand the politics. I know some politicians see more advantage in shouting about problems than solving them. Well, I'll tell you this. If you come back to my state to do TV interviews at the border, you better be ready to explain why you chose politics over addressing this crisis that's staring you in the face. If you can't do that, don't come back.
And here is James Comer. That's James Comer saying, we got a new investigation. We're going after John Kerry right now. We're going after Kerry here. Play. It's embarrassing. Play this clip.
Yeah, this is more evidence of obstruction. The White House is obstructing our investigation. Look, no one knows what John Kerry authority was. No one knows what John Kerry was negotiating when he would go to China. Joe Biden put him in a cabinet level position that he just created, but yet he was never confirmed by the Senate. So no one knows really what his job was, but we know he went over there a lot. We also know, Rob, that he was colluding with these left-wing environmental organizations. We're trying to figure out who was funding these. We know some of these were Soros funded. We believe that some of them may have had some other foreign infusions of cash from our enemies around the world. And every American knows that the Biden energy policy is a disaster. That's showing up in the polls. So we have a lot of questions, and just like everything else, they're slow at turning over this investigation. The information that we've requested, it's not classified. We just want to know exactly who John Kerry was colluding with and try to figure out why he was doing that and what damage it's done to the American taxpayers.
And folks, here's the thing that the media, Republicans, what have they been saying? Invasion, 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 invasion. They don't talk about inflation anymore. They don't talk about the economy anymore. They don't talk about talk about things like that. They were saying invasion, every day. That's what they talked about. So let's do something about it, because when there are problems that inevitably develop, solution-oriented leaders, something that I like. So the same time that you had Republicans saying that they were not going to fund Ukraine unless they got everything they wanted at the border, President Biden let the Republican Senator James Lankford put in what they wanted at the border in exchange for helping our allies abroad and trying to save Europe from Vladimir Putin bulldozing over Europe. I mean, the fact that you even have to make a compromise like that with Republicans, but sure, we'll give you what you want on the board. Here's what you want. Here's everything you've asked for. And then the Republicans say, no, we don't want it. Okay, well, is the media going to ignore that y'all have been saying invasion, 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 and then when someone gives you the solution, you go, oh, I don't want to deal with it. We want to whine about it. We want to complain about it, and we want to try to undermine funding to Ukraine. Fortunately, you had 16 yes votes from Republicans to advance a national security supplemental that includes Ukraine funding in it. Other Republicans are still trying to slow that down with procedural maneuvering to try to harm the funds from getting to Ukraine and passing in both houses, but at least 16 yes votes to at least advance the security supplemental without the border that the MAGA Republicans and Republicans wanted. And it's just a mess. And it's not a both sides mess. It's not nothing can get done. It's Trump and MAGA Republicans trying to actually harm the country to then say, oh, look at all the mess, look at the mess. And they rely on the media not reporting on that and just saying, there's just havoc going on. No, there's people trying to solve problems and people who are creating the problems. That's what's happening right now. And that's why I say this isn't a Democratic issue or liberal, conservative. No, this is certain people trying to roll up their sleeves and get things done. And you've got Trump and MAGA who are trying to destroy it because they want to hoist up their dystopia of Vladimir Putin and Viktor Orban and Kim Jong-un. That's what they want. That's what they want. It's obvious. That's what they say it. They're saying it. Don't both sides this crap. We need a stable democracy. We need normalcy. We need solutions. So just watch what's happening. That's why I showed you a variety of viewpoints there. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.